Coyote intrusions rarely begin with loud noises. Everything usually starts with small changes that gradually become more noticeable. During the farm's routine, the chickens suddenly become restless at night, the sheep crowd into one corner of their enclosure, and the guard dogs keep barking toward the dark fields. By morning, a trail of small but clearly defined tracks appears in the damp soil beside the fence, revealing that a coyote has returned. Those signs are enough for the farmer to understand that the predator is still silently watching the property. Those tracks are clearly different from those of a domestic dog or fox. They are smaller than gray wolf prints, with long, narrow toes, evenly spaced steps, and a trail continuing in an almost straight line. Before approaching the farm, coyotes quietly move along fences, drainage ditches, or familiar paths while observing the surrounding area. Rather than attacking immediately, they spend several nights studying livestock habits and human movements, waiting until everything becomes quiet. A single coyote can cause considerable damage, but they sometimes appear in pairs or small family groups. They divide their roles, watch the area, inspect fences, and search for openings or poorly protected locations. When no opportunity appears, they quietly retreat and return another night when conditions are more favorable. Their adaptability and ability to identify the right moment to attack force specialists to prepare stronger, systematic measures to protect livestock. For this reason, wildlife management teams inspect trails, drainage ditches, fences, dry streambeds, field edges, and open areas frequently used by coyotes. Every footprint, patch of flattened grass, section of disturbed soil, and small tree scratch is carefully recorded. Using these signs, the teams gradually identify the coyote's movement patterns, activity times, and most frequently used routes with greater accuracy. After confirming the travel routes, specialists choose suitable places to install ambush traps. These locations do not need to be wide or easy to observe, but must be narrow points the coyote will almost certainly cross along its familiar route. The traps are installed according to wildlife management procedures to reduce risks and minimize effects on other animals. Every step is carried out carefully to preserve the area's natural appearance and scents. Once installation is complete, almost no trace or scent of human presence remains. Dry leaves still cover the ground naturally, the trail remains unchanged, and the field returns to silence. Over the following nights, cameras repeatedly record coyotes appearing cautiously in the distance before disappearing again. Sometimes they change their activity hours, other times they observe for several minutes before quietly leaving. Because one mistake could make them avoid the area for weeks, no one rushes. Several days later, early one morning, unusual movement is detected near the traps. When the specialists arrive to inspect the site, they discover several coyotes caught along their regular route. The team immediately evaluates the surroundings, checks each animal's condition, and responds according to wildlife management procedures. Although they had prepared for this moment for days, every step is handled cautiously to ensure the safety of people and animals. The rapid response team approaches carefully, following safety procedures and field guidelines. Their goal is not to prove that humans are stronger than nature, but to protect livestock, reduce conflicts with wildlife, and handle the situation responsibly. Coyotes are extremely agile and cautious, and may react aggressively when cornered, so every movement and stage of the approach remains under strict control. However, capturing one coyote does not mean every problem on the farm has ended. Other individuals may quickly change routes, become active later, or move elsewhere to avoid danger. Coyote management is therefore a long battle of intelligence against clever, cautious, and highly adaptable animals. In nature, the advantage belongs to those patient enough to read subtle signs and choose the right moment. If you found this content useful, leave a comment and follow the stories still to come.
Wolves. Alright, dude, you need.
Go. Whoa. Talking smack.
Not every set of tracks in the soil leads to prey. Some instead mark the beginning of a battle of wits that can last for days between humans and one of the most intelligent predators in the wild. Wolves do not survive through speed or strength alone. They rely on an almost flawless sense of vigilance, an exceptional memory of the terrain, and a habit of investigating anything unusual along their travel routes. That is why, to get close to an adult wolf, wildlife control officers must be even more patient than the animal they are pursuing. Everything begins with the smallest clues. Tracks press into damp soil, tufts of fur caught on fences, livestock carcasses stripped down to the bones, or the sound of howls echoing after nightfall are all carefully documented. Infrared cameras are then installed along game trails and near water sources to determine exactly when the pack appears. After many nights of observation, a pattern gradually emerges. The wolves usually follow the same route, keep a safe distance from populated areas, and almost always send a lead wolf ahead to check for danger before the rest of the pack moves in. Once a consistent travel route has been identified, the wildlife control team begins selecting the ideal location for the trap. They avoid areas littered with dry branches or large rocks, since even the slightest sound can cause a wolf to change direction. The steel foothold trap is firmly anchored with a heavy-duty steel cable, then carefully concealed beneath a thin layer of soil and dry leaves so that it blends seamlessly with the surrounding ground. Every trace of human presence is meticulously erased. Even the team's approach route is planned according to the wind direction to minimize any lingering human scent around the trap site. To improve the chances of success, the bait is placed a short distance from the trap rather than directly above it. Carried by the wind, its scent sparks the wolf's curiosity, forcing it to advance step by cautious step in search of the food source. This is also the moment when its instinct for caution becomes strongest. The animal often stops repeatedly, raises its head to scan the surroundings, sniffs the air, and only then continues forward. Some wolves spend tens of minutes inspecting just the final few meters before finally placing a paw exactly where the trap has been carefully positioned. The days that follow are filled with tense anticipation. The wildlife control team watches from a distance while reviewing footage from the cameras to monitor every movement in the area. Night after night passes with the trap still untouched, suggesting that the wolf is quietly testing human patience. Then, at daybreak one morning, the sharp vibration of the steel cable breaking the silence signals that the Battle of Wits has finally come to an end. An adult wolf has been caught in the steel foothold trap. As soon as it is discovered, the team moves in quickly while maintaining a safe distance. Even though the animal is restrained, it continues to growl, watches every direction, and remains ready to react at the slightest opportunity. The specialists use professional equipment to bring the situation under control before administering an appropriate sedative to reduce the wolf's stress and ensure everyone's safety. During the health assessment, they examine the condition of the trapped leg, monitor its heart rate, and evaluate its chances of recovery before deciding on the next course of action. After all examinations have been completed, the wolf is transported to a suitable location in accordance with established regulations to reduce the likelihood of it returning to areas near livestock. At the same time, all camera footage, field evidence, and observations of the animal's behavior are carefully preserved to support future wildlife management efforts. For those who do this work, success is measured not by the number of traps they set, but by their ability to understand wolf behavior and intervene at the right moment to minimize human-wildlife conflict. Every set of tracks in the soil, therefore, tells more than the story of a predator. It also reflects a quiet battle between nature's instinct for survival and the knowledge that humans have accumulated through years of careful observation.
Things rarely begin with a loud attack. They begin with subtle signs, so small they are almost overlooked amid the familiar rhythm of life on the farm. A flock of sheep suddenly huddles tightly into the corner of a pen in the middle of the night. The guard dogs bark relentlessly toward the dark forest. By the next morning, a few deep tracks appear in the damp soil beside the fence. They do not belong to domestic dogs, nor do they resemble the prints of foxes or coyotes. Long toes, evenly spaced strides, and a straight path, as if the animal that left them had passed through this place many times before. The wolves had returned. Along the border where farmland meets the mountains and forest, the return of wolves always brings a quiet sense of unease. They do not hunt recklessly. Instead, they watch patiently, memorize the habits of their prey, and use the cover of darkness to move closer little by little. A lone wolf is dangerous enough, but a coordinated pack is far more unpredictable. They may spread out across an area, test the reactions of livestock, inspect fences, and wait for the weakest moment before making their move. That is why trapping wolves is never as simple as setting a trap and hoping for luck. Wildlife managers begin by reading the entire landscape as though it were a living map. They study old game trails, dry creek beds, forest edges, hillsides, and open spaces that wolves naturally use as travel routes. From these details, they understand one essential truth. Before you can control a wolf, you must first understand how it thinks. The greatest challenge lies not in the trap itself, but in patience. Wolves are extraordinarily cautious animals. A single unfamiliar scent, a patch of disturbed soil, or even a newly placed object can be enough to make one change its route. Specialized wildlife teams never rush to intervene. They spend time monitoring wind direction, the hours when wolves appear, the intervals between their movements, and their reactions to even the smallest changes in the environment. Once clear patterns begin to emerge, An ambush point is carefully selected along a natural travel corridor the wolf frequently uses. It is not the widest location, nor the easiest to see, but the place the animal is almost certain to step through if it intends to continue along its familiar route. The trap is prepared according to established wildlife management protocols, minimizing risk while avoiding unnecessary disturbance to other species. Everything around it is left almost untouched. The forest remains silent, the ground stays blanketed with dry leaves, and the trail appears as though no human hand has ever disturbed it. Then, on a cold night as mist begins to settle over the valley, the monitoring screen captures a familiar movement in the darkness. A wolf appears at the edge of the frame. It does not rush, nor does it seem alarmed. It pauses for a few seconds, lifts its head to test the air, and then continues forward. Every step is slow but deliberate. The observers can hardly breathe. In the very next moment, as the wolf steps into the carefully calculated position, the trap mechanism is triggered. The silence of the forest is shattered in an instant. The rapid response team immediately moves in, following established safety procedures. For them, this is not a battle to prove humanity's strength against nature. It is a mission to balance livestock protection, reduce human-wildlife conflict, and responsibly manage one of nature's most intelligent predators. Yet even after one wolf has been captured, the story is far from over. The remaining members of the pack will change their behavior. They may avoid their old route, become active later at night, or seek out deeper, more secluded paths through the forest. Wolf trapping, therefore, is not simply a story about equipment or technique. It is a prolonged battle of strategy between humans and a predator that can observe, remember, and adapt. In the wild, where every footprint carries a message, victory does not belong to the impatient. It belongs to those who have the patience to listen to the forest, read every sign it leaves behind, and act at precisely the right moment.
Oh, dude.
Recently, residents living near forests and hilly areas have repeatedly reported wolves appearing around livestock farms. At first, they were only seen from a distance, crossing open grasslands or moving along the forest edge before disappearing. However, it wasn't long before several packs began venturing much closer to local farms.
People frequently spotted them traveling along fences, crossing dirt roads leading into grazing areas, or watching livestock from a distance. Most sightings occurred around sunrise or shortly after sunset. Some wolves even approached livestock pens before quickly leaving as soon as they noticed human activity. The repeated wolf sightings over several days raised growing concerns among local residents about the safety of their livestock. Farm owners increased fence inspections, secured livestock pens every evening, and kept smaller animals from roaming outside. As reports continued to increase, wildlife management teams began implementing trapping operations in areas where wolf activity was reported most often. Before setting any traps, observers spent several days surveying the area to identify the routes wolves used most frequently. They examined forest trails, openings between tree lines, areas along fences, and the transition zones between the woods and grazing fields. After gathering enough information, the most suitable locations were selected for trap placement. Each trap was carefully positioned to match the wolves' natural travel patterns while minimizing anything that might attract their attention. Throughout the installation process, the surrounding environment was left as undisturbed as possible to avoid changing the wolves' normal behavior when they returned.
Punching around it.
Wildlife experts believe the wolves kept returning mainly because of food availability. As natural prey became scarcer or more difficult to catch, farms with livestock and smaller domestic animals became more attractive targets. Many wolf packs also tend to revisit places where they previously found food, repeatedly following the same travel routes. At the same time trapping efforts were underway, residents reinforced fences, removed anything that could attract wildlife, and increased inspections of their livestock after each wolf sighting. Despite these combined efforts, wolves continued appearing for several consecutive days, showing that managing the situation remained a significant challenge. After a period of monitoring, the entire trapping system was reviewed to improve its effectiveness. Trap locations that consistently showed high levels of wolf activity were kept in place, while those with little activity were relocated to more promising travel routes. The bait was also adjusted when necessary to maintain its effectiveness under local conditions. Every modification was based on observations collected over several consecutive days. These ongoing adjustments gradually made the trapping system better aligned with the wolves' actual movement patterns and laid the groundwork for more successful results.
I call it cut and dry. Hydrant.
Water is so important to fish.
Well, thank you, Casey. Well-being.
Mm-hmm. Anytime.
Okay.
I'd let you have some, but
Stand right here.
right here on a point.
After many days of careful monitoring and adjustments, one of the traps placed along a primary travel route finally produced results. During a routine inspection, observers found that a wolf had been successfully captured after entering the baited area. The entire event was documented to evaluate the effectiveness of the control program. The successful capture demonstrated that accurately identifying travel routes and selecting the right trap locations played a critical role in the operation's success. In the following days, reports of wolves appearing around the area began to decline noticeably. Even so, residents continued maintaining protective measures, regularly inspecting fences and monitoring wildlife activity to reduce the chances of wolves returning while helping ensure the long-term stability of local livestock operations.
Recently, many families living near forested areas have repeatedly reported packs of wolves appearing around farms and livestock enclosures. At first, the wolves stayed at a considerable distance, but over time, they gradually moved closer to areas where domestic animals were kept. Residents frequently spotted them traveling along fences, forest edges, and paths leading into farming areas. Most sightings occurred in the early morning or around dusk. As the distance between the wolves and residential areas continued to shrink, many livestock owners became increasingly concerned about the potential impact on their farming activities and the safety of their animals. Through careful observation, residents realized that the main reason the wolves kept returning was the changing conditions of their natural habitat. Food sources inside the forest have become increasingly scarce, forcing them to expand their hunting range into new areas. Farms with livestock, poultry, and other small domestic animals became much more attractive feeding grounds for the wolves. After several successful visits, the wolves gradually memorized the locations where they had previously found food and continued returning out of habit. As a result, sightings around livestock areas became more frequent and continued for many consecutive days. To reduce the risk, the residents began implementing a trapping plan in the areas most frequently used by the wolves. Before setting the traps, they carefully monitored the animals' travel routes to identify the most suitable locations. Areas near forest edges, trails, and fences were prioritized because wolves were more likely to pass through them. Bait was also prepared to increase the chances of attracting the wolves once they approached controlled areas. Throughout the operation, the surrounding environment was kept as undisturbed as possible to avoid altering the wolves' natural behavior and to minimize their suspicion. After some time, the residents inspected the entire trapping system they had installed. The results showed that several wolves had been successfully caught at different locations within the controlled area. Once discovered, each situation was handled according to planned procedures to ensure the safety of everyone involved and to protect the surrounding farms. The sites were then carefully cleaned before work continued. At the same time, the residents evaluated the effectiveness of each trap location to determine which areas performed well and which required adjustments to the next stage, preparing for a more effective long-term control strategy. Although the first wolves had already been removed, packs continued appearing around the area during the following days. This indicated that the threat had not been completely eliminated and that more wolves were still active near the farms. The residents decided to install additional traps along the routes most frequently used by the wolves. Some trap locations were adjusted to better match actual movement patterns, while extra bait was added to improve attraction. After completing the new setup, the trapping system continued operating under constant monitoring before the next inspections. During the following inspections, the trapping system continued proving effective as more wolves were caught at the newly adjusted locations. After each inspection, the residents quickly handled the captured animals and cleaned the sites to ensure the traps remained ready for continued operation. Continuous control efforts gradually reduced the number of wolves appearing around the livestock areas over time. Even so, protective measures continued in order to minimize the risk of the wolves returning. Thanks to regular monitoring and the careful placement of traps, the farming area gradually became more stable, allowing residents to continue their agricultural activities with greater confidence while protecting their livestock over the long term.
Do you know what is truly terrifying about wolves? It is not their sharp teeth, and it is not their chilling howls echoing through the dark. The most frightening thing is that by the time people realize they have been close, it is often already too late. They do not rush in and attack during the first few nights. Instead, they watch in silence, memorizing every fence line and every narrow trail around the chicken coop. And when several chickens suddenly disappear without leaving a trace, people finally understand that the hunt has truly begun. But this time, the prey is not only the helpless chickens inside the coop. It is also a tense battle of intelligence between humans and one of the smartest, most patient, and most unpredictable predators in North America. After receiving the report, wildlife managers do not rush into the forest with traps right away. They begin by setting up a monitoring camera system, aiming it toward narrow paths, fence lines, and the areas around the farm. The cameras are placed low enough to record the movement of each individual animal, but hidden well enough so the wolves do not become suspicious. For many nights in a row, every movement in the darkness is recorded. The time the wolves appear, the direction they travel, the number of animals in the group, and even the distance between them are all carefully reviewed. Once the travel route has been identified, the trapping process begins. Every location is calculated carefully based on the data collected earlier. The trapper must work with extreme caution to avoid leaving behind human scent. A shallow bed is dug just deep enough, then covered with a fine layer of soil, so the surface looks completely natural. Every footprint around the area is erased before anyone leaves. Just one branch bent in the wrong direction, one overturned stone, or the faint smell of metal left behind can be enough for a wolf to detect danger and avoid the area completely. At this point, the conflict is no longer about strength. It becomes a contest of patience and the ability to deceive the senses of a predator. Many days pass, and the trap remains hidden beneath the soil while the cameras continue recording wolves moving through the area. Some individuals come very close, stop to sniff the ground, and then quietly turn away. They're not careless. They examine even the smallest changes in their surroundings before taking another step. One wolf may return to the same exact spot the next night simply to make sure nothing unusual has appeared. This nearly perfect level of caution is why many trapping operations can continue for weeks, and sometimes even months, before producing any result. After many days of silent waiting, the decisive moment finally arrives. Within a short period of time, several wolves are caught and held in place. The next morning, wildlife managers return to the site and find a major result after days of quiet observation, tracking footprints, checking night cameras, and carefully calculating the movement route of the entire pack. The outcome shows that the trapping plan was placed in the right direction, while also helping reduce the pressure the wolves had been putting on the surrounding area. But the remaining wolves quickly changed their approach. Around the farms, they quietly move closer to the fences, sniff around small gaps, and search for new ways to reach the chickens. That forces people to keep adapting as well. Cameras are moved closer to the chicken coop, fences are inspected more carefully, and trap locations must be adjusted according to the pack's new movement patterns. This is no longer a simple one-time response. It has become a long-running confrontation between the hunting instincts of wolves and the persistence of people trying to protect their livestock. Across the vast forests of North America, as night falls once again, the wolves continue to move silently along the same familiar routes. Somewhere in the darkness, infrared cameras keep recording every step, every pause, and every movement. Perhaps the most remarkable thing is not the perfectly hidden traps or the modern equipment placed in the forest. It is the extraordinary ability of wolves to adapt after thousands of years of survival. The struggle between humans and nature has never been only a story of strength. It is a battle of patience, intelligence, and the ability to understand one another.
Wolf attacks rarely begin with loud noises or scenes of chaos. Most of the time, they start with subtle changes, so small that they're easy to overlook. In the middle of an otherwise normal day on the farm, the sheep suddenly crowd into one corner of the pen. The guard dogs keep barking toward the woods without stopping. A short time later, a line of deep wolf tracks appears in the damp ground beside the fence. The long toes, evenly spaced steps, and nearly straight pattern suggest that the pack has passed through this area many times. In border regions where farmland and livestock areas meet the mountains and forest, the presence of wolves always creates a quiet sense of unease. They rarely hunt in a rushed or reckless way. Instead, wolves spend time watching, memorizing the habits of their prey, and using darkness in the terrain to move closer one careful step at a time. A single wolf can already be dangerous, but coordinated pack is far more difficult to deal with. They may spread out around an area, test the livestock's response, search for weak points in the fence, and patiently wait for the best moment to act. For that reason, trapping wolves is not as simple as setting a device and hoping for luck. Wildlife managers must study the entire area like a living map, from old trails and dry creek beds to forest edges and hillsides. By examining these details, they can identify the wolves' travel routes and understand that controlling them first requires knowing how they observe and respond to their surroundings. The greatest challenge is not the trap itself, but knowing when to wait. Wolves are extremely cautious animals. A strange scent disturbs soil, or an unfamiliar object can cause them to change direction immediately. That is why wildlife teams never rush into the area or intervene too early. They spend long periods monitoring wind direction, recording the times wolves appear, measuring the intervals between visits, and studying how they react to even the smallest changes in the landscape. Once the travel route becomes consistent and easier to recognize, a trap location is carefully selected along a natural corridor the wolves regularly use. It is not necessarily the widest or easiest place to observe, but point the animal is almost certain to cross if it continues following its usual route. The trap is deployed according to established wildlife management procedures designed to reduce risk and avoid unnecessary harm to other species. The surrounding area is left almost untouched. forest remains quiet. Dry leaves still cover the ground, and the trail looks as though no one has ever disturbed it. On a cold night, as fog settles over the valley, the monitoring system detects a wolf at the edge of the frame. It pauses for a few seconds, lifts its head to test the air, and then slowly moves forward. Every step is cautious and deliberate. The moment the wolf reaches a carefully selected position, the trap mechanism activates, briefly breaking the silence of the forest. However, capturing one wolf does not mean the entire problem is over. The remaining members of the pack often adjust their behavior quickly. They may completely avoid the old trail, begin moving later at night, or switch to deeper and more secluded routes through the forest. That is why wolf trapping is not simply about equipment or technique. It is a long contest of intelligence between people and a predator capable of observing, remembering, and adapting with remarkable speed. In the wild, where every track can carry important information, the advantage never belongs to those who act too quickly. It belongs to those patient enough to listen to the forest, interpret every signal, and make the right decision at exactly the right time.
At first, no one in the livestock area thought that a danger was quietly approaching. The fields were still calm, the fences were not broken, and the barn showed no clear signs of disturbance. But after only a few nights, small changes began to appear one by one. Some livestock did not return with the herd. Several chickens went missing, and along the edge of the forest, more and more strange footprints began appearing in the damp soil. Those traces quickly caught the attention of wildlife management teams. They were not the footprints of a lost animal or the marks of a predator simply passing through by chance. The tracks formed fairly clear movement routes, following the forest edge, the stream banks, and the narrow trails around the grazing area. This showed that the wolf pack had been observing the area for some time, memorizing the terrain and learning how to approach the livestock without leaving too many signs. To better understand their activity. Experts began installing surveillance cameras at key points. These devices were placed along natural movement corridors where wolves were most likely to appear. After several nights of monitoring, the footage showed that the wolf pack rarely moved at random. They often reused familiar routes, traveled in small groups, changed their time of appearance, and used the darkness to carefully hide their movements. From the camera data, the management teams realized that dealing with wolves could not depend on just one method. Wolves are cautious, intelligent animals that adapt very quickly. If an area shows unusual signs, the entire pack can immediately change its route. Therefore, the plan was divided into several stages. Continuing surveillance, identifying the individuals that frequently approach the livestock area, and then applying suitable control methods based on the situation point. One method used in some areas is hunting with a bow and arrow, usually carried out by experienced and licensed people. Unlike noisy chases, this approach requires patience, the ability to read tracks, and an understanding of the wolf's direction of movement. The hunter must observe from a distance, maintain a safe space, use the terrain as cover, and wait for the right moment. Just one rushed movement can cause the wolf to sense danger and disappear into the forest.
We did this thing before. Here for coyotes. Once again, I've got a creep that run on the road, walking in here.
However, bow hunting does not always bring quick results. Wolves often move in low light, constantly change direction, and rarely stay still in one place for long. Many times, they appeared only briefly on camera before leaving the area, long before the control team could approach. Because of this strong caution, the method becomes more like a battle of intelligence than a direct confrontation. The tracker must remain patient, while the wolf always tries to keep its advantage. When direct hunting was not effective enough, experts began using traps as an additional method adapted to field conditions. Instead of placing them randomly, they chose points where cameras had confirmed frequent wolf movement. The two commonly mentioned types are foothold traps and cage traps. Each has a different use, but both must be installed according to regulations, checked frequently, and operated within a wildlife management plan. Foothold traps are usually placed on narrow trails where wolves often pass. Meanwhile, cage traps are used when it is necessary to capture an animal for evaluation or relocation. No matter what type of trap is used, the most important factor is still understanding wolf behavior. If the surrounding environment changes even slightly, they may change direction or completely abandon that route. Therefore, experts must work carefully, reduce unfamiliar signs, and continue monitoring small changes around them.
I know what you're gonna do.
In the end, controlling wolves is not simply a matter of bows, cameras, or traps. It is a process that combines observation, experience, and constant adaptation. Every footprint, recording, and moment when the wolf pack changes route provides humans with more information. In the wild, the advantage does not belong to the stronger side, but to the side that understands its opponent better. If you found this content useful, leave your thoughts and keep watching the next stories.